Yeah, so my name is Louis Durrant. If you thought it was Louis Durrant, that's okay, I get it a lot. And I sort of front the one-man project, a limited company as of 2 weeks ago, which is kind of exciting, which is Carrot Cake Game Studios, or Studio. And I guess this is sort of where I've been taking it, a bit of dev, a bit of sort of where I started, where I went. I moved to Bristol 10 years ago, so 2014, to study graphic design. I'm primarily an illustrator. This is just some stuff I've drawn to make you think, oh yeah, he does draw stuff. I thought I don't want to study illustration because I don't want to spend 3 years learning about three-point perspective, although you might be looking at that and thinking, well, maybe you should have. So I thought graphic design, I can do sort of like the relationship between imagery and things like that. So in second year, we could have either done typography, video, or narrative. I was one of 8 students that decided to do narrative, and they sent us off to Western Supermed to listen to seashells and see if we could find stories. And they let me make a video game for my second year project. I made this game called Crossing to the Cold Valley. In just under 4 weeks, I buried myself in my bedroom when I came out. All the leaves had come out, and I couldn't believe the world continued to exist. But it was a big learning experience, just having that, that feeling of drawing things, turning them into a game. Something I could take my drawings and collectively move around the world, which was all good fun. The next year, we had a final year project. I was given the subject of Wake Up, and so I thought I could take this into transcendentalism, Buddhism, and things like that. I went and meditated with people in Stokescroft. And the final year project, I made a game called Kingdom Car, which was this sort of the idea. I took out of the library these old Buddhist parables, and I learned these sort of old teachings of Buddhism, and I thought, could I do something that's sort of half Western, half Eastern? My tutors hated it, but hey, that's what I left university with. And then I graduated, and I thought, I'll spend this year, I'll take these 2 games, Crossing to the Cold Valley, Kingdom Car, and I'll turn them into something that maybe I'll sell, and maybe some people will buy them, I don't know. So I had a couple more scenes. I will admit, this isn't what the background originally looked like. I spent a bit more time on it. And yeah, I released them 2017, 2018. And to basically, to nobody. Although Kingdom Car is sort of developed, and it still has this kind of core audience. Even some in Japan, it's got a fan Japanese translation since it paid my rent for 1 month. Well, hey. My absolute favourite thing was I once had a VTuber stream the game. I love that because you've got this clayman here who's kind of like trying to convince you he can feel and he can think. And you've also kind of got this character here who's not real, so trying to convince you through Avatar. This is in a slide. She's called Zia Cornelia. Apparently they don't die, but they graduate. And a year ago, because I was trying to find this footage and I couldn't find it anywhere, it was on a fan uploaded site, she live streamed in Minecraft her burial. And now she's no longer around, so I don't know, sort of it's kind of sad in a way. But I wanted to make my next game, and these games are made in a bit of software called Visionaire Studio, which is fun. You make little point-and-click games, but there's not really much programming. It was drop and drag. It taught me how to do if and else statements, essentially. But I was like, I want to learn how to make a game from scratch, essentially. So I started learning GD script for Godot. I heard good things at Godot. This was in 2018, so it was just sort of up and coming. And I was like, can I learn GD script? And first we had to learn Python, so I started learning Python. This is what it looked like in 2018. This is what it looks like now. It's become this game which is called The Garden Path, which is what I've been working on since 2018. So I've had sort of 6 years to reduce the saturation a little bit. But I essentially wanted a game where it kind of makes you... I knew I couldn't market this way, because, I mean, unless everybody's like Zia Cornelia, I thought, is there a way I could do a game that people actually want to play, that people just wake up and playing feels natural? So I thought of this game where I didn't have to do much programming, so I thought at the time, where I could have, most of the content was drawing from these costumes and items. It was, the content was through things other than programming that I could sort of generate over time. But I had a problem, and that was that although I was getting people following my work, I realised that I was mostly marketing to other game developers, and there's a few nice game developers who want to play your game, but most of them don't. I'm not one of those. I don't really want to play games. I want to make games. That's just me. And so I read this blog post from Eastshade, the Eastshade developers, and they said they made millions of pounds with their game. Has anybody played that Eastshade? sort of go around and paint pictures, yeah. And I sort of thought, yeah, £1 million sounds good. I could buy a lot of lentils with that. They were like, the main thing you need is to reach out to a PR company. We did that, it was great, and so I thought I would do that. I reached out to a PR company, they said, hey, we're starting up publishing, we want to do publishing, do you want to be our first published game? I said, yes, that sounds very cool. And they said, do you want to do a Kickstarter? And so we did, and hey, 20,000, we got 30,000, not bad. This was in 2021. And they said a Kickstarter is a great way to start building a community. It was less about, they were like, look, you know, we don't need the money. It turns out, if you're doing everything yourself like I am, you basically don't need a budget. So most of this money went to translation, which we're now doing in French, Japanese, and Spanish, and then a fourth one, which I can't say yet, which is quite exciting. And it turns out that's a lot of hard work, which again is another reason why I've been working on the game for so long. I don't know how to run a successful Kickstarter. They know how to run a successful Kickstarter, so don't ask me about that. But I ended up with a small community of people who, and I didn't realise this, but Cosy gaming is a whole thing, and I didn't know that when I started making the game. Animal Crossing came out in 2020, I was making this in 2018, and Animal Crossing did really well, and suddenly everybody wanted to make Animal Crossing. And apparently, Cosy games have lived and died in the time I've been working on this game. Everybody's telling me the Cosy game is dead. Long live the Cosy game. It's not really something that I asked for, and I think, in a way, a lot of people are saying the reason they're tired of Cosy games is that there's certainly an aesthetic and a type of game that is being delivered, and I'm hoping at least that, you know, I always wanted to do something a little bit more sad, a little bit more subtle. I wanted these characters, these vegetable characters, the sort of their characteristics evolved from their, you know, their slight qualities and how they grow. So we've got Olga, Heidi, Nora, Sam, Boy. They're all these different characters that come to a garden depending on how you've grown them. It's a Viva Pinata clone, really. And yeah, we released the beta that year, and I've just been working on the game ever since. And I think I'm hoping that the game's mechanics. I hate crafting. Do people like crafting? I think maybe there's this sort of feeling. I don't know. There's dozens of us. Maybe there's dozens of us. I'm not sure. So I wanted this game where sort of every item feels like this item that has this sort of, you know, a purpose, and that you know, you have an inventory, but there's only a few items which are careful to have. But there's no currency, and this is sort of an important part of it, where you know you're not crafting things, but you're taking things with different characteristics, different characters who will, you know, trade with you basically, having things like that, which is an absolute nightmare to balance, and probably one of the most difficult aspects of the game's design. Turns out these guys do quite well on TikTok. If you get Owen Wilson saying "wow," you can put these guys up one after the other. That does quite well. I did all right out of that. And and this is just. I sort of also just on the side. I kind of like the idea because always people show you concept art and it looks really cool, and it doesn't look that cool in the game. So I always thought, why can't you just use the concept art in the game? So this is a sprites from, you know, that they're actually in the game. You know, this is Punk, the T-Broom monkey. There's a Caravan Sisters come here. These guys you have to physically destroy in order to get their secrets. Things like that. These are all in the game. But, it turns out this is only something you can actually do quite recently because you need a lot of VRAM essentially. So, you know, I always wondered why isn't there more games than are sprite sort of pixel artwork, and I've been slowly learning why. But that's all good part of Nemesis as well. And we recently got 50,000 wishlists on Steam. They tell me that's good. I try not to worry about the numbers too much. That's kind of their job. But I know the conversion isn't too great in that. But they seem happy, so I'm happy too. And I'm currently working with the developers of Godot, who have set up their private arm called W4 Games to bring the game to the Nintendo Switch. That's the whole process that I'm working with now. But we might be the very first Godot 4 game, at least through W4, to be on the Switch, which I think is exciting. Who knows what happens next? From Carrot Cake that's kind of what publishers do. I don't really post their marketing towards people who like Cosy games and things, but if you do want to see the game, that's fine. The best way to follow me is to probably stalk me on my way back home. Please don't do that. I'm pretty much not on social media anymore, but if you are on Mastodon, maybe on Mastodon, I'm sure that's the address there. Thanks so much for listening. So if you have any questions. Sure.
Thanks very much, that's really cool. Can you tell us a little bit more just about the basic mechanic with it? Really interested to see more.
It is kind of the guy who made Fez said this, that it's a stop and scroll roses game. It's kind of this, that, kind of, you kind of walk around. It's an experiential game, similar to the earlier games. So it is very much, you appear in this garden, it's quite a large world, it's not an open world. It's not quite randomly generated, but it's a little bit randomly generated, and you are trying to talk to various animal travelers, convince these people to move into your garden, just so you can talk to the run areas. And there's kind of a backstory of the game. It's very sort of show no tell about sort of where the garden came from, things like that. But it's sort of this cross thing where it's not quite real time like Animal Crossing is, and it's not quite Stardew Valley. So it has this kind of own internal plot where seasons pass quick, but still, it's a game that you just go into every day. You see your garden grow. It doesn't punish you too much. Your characters. And Animal Crossing is always like, I haven't seen you in 6 months. We don't have that kind of thing. So hopefully that explains it. So, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. What else? Respect that. Thanks so much.